Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video we're going to take a look at the newly released Spyderco Mantra, and we'll go through the normal format, specs, overall impressions, and details. Now this knife actually came to market tremendously fast. I first heard of this one when Spyderco released the 2016 catalog, and if you've gone to any knife shows, no doubt you've seen it there. Spyderco has been known or is known to show prototypes at the show that you're not allowed to photograph. Maybe there was some talk of it on the Spyderco dedicated forum, but on the USN or Blade forums there was really no mention of this knife. So it first appeared around the first part of December in the 2016 catalog, and then it came to market just a month later, the very first part of January here, 2016. So kind of a quick pace for Spyderco. But anyways, let's go through the specs. We'll talk about, let's jump into the specs then. So we are taking a look at a titanium frame lock flipper from Spyderco. This knife is quite reminiscent of the Spyderco Delica in terms of the size, in terms of the blade shape. Just all around has a lot of Delica to it and really has that quintessential Spyderco look. Now it was designed by Eric Glesser, although it is based quite heavily on many of Sal's designs here, as you can see. So but a very Spyderco feeling knife nonetheless. So the overall length is about 7.3 inches. Blade length is just about 3.15 there. The blade thickness 0.12 inches, fairly thin blade stock. Blade steel is CPM M4, a blade steel that has been very popularized by the Spyderco Gale Bradley, and there is the Gale Bradley 2 out now. And of course it has a drop point blade with a full flat grind, the trademark Spyderco opening hole, and obviously a flipper tab as well for a couple different opening methods. Weighs in at 3 ounces, and then the handle thickness is 0.39 inches. So this one's made in Taiwan, coming out of the Taichung factory. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the specs. Overall impressions, well, to be honest, I wasn't thoroughly impressed with the knife when I first got it. I had envisioned something, something more along the lines of a premium flipper from Spyderco, maybe a bit more akin to, let's say, the Rubicon. And while this is a good flipper, the knife was really designed and very purpose-built for EDC use. The thin hollow ground blade, or the thin flat ground blade, kind of small in size, really good small EDC, but it's not quite, the real premium feel that I was expecting out of Taichung, and that's just my personal opinion. I will say that this is going to, without a doubt, be a very popular knife for Spyderco. It does compete quite well with the Zero Tolerance 0450, which is also of similar size, very different design language, but similar size and similar materials, I suppose, to an extent. So anyways, nice little EDC knife. It does everything that you want it to well. It's going to carry well, it's going to cut tremendously well, very performance driven. So yeah, those are my overall impressions. Now let's get into the details as to why. So starting off with the blade here, again, CPM M4, as it shows right there. Again, a blade steel popularized by the Gale Bradley. A very, very good user steel as long as you take care of the blade. CPM M4 is a tool steel, so it doesn't really have much in the way of stainless steel properties. So this blade, if you're not careful, it can rust and it can definitely stain. I've seen a few pictures of people staining their M4 blades by cutting fruit of acidic natures. You can force the patina onto the M4, or just use a, coat it with something that will protect it. So when I got it, I immediately threw on this stuff, the EDCI spray-on formula just to make sure. And in Utah it's quite dry, so really probably overkill, but as an enthusiast I do take care of my gear. So anyways, we'll leave it at that. Again, very good cutting steel, very performance driven. Gail Bradley, and the Spyderco Gail Bradley, he does cutting performance tests, and knife cutting tests and knife cutting competitions. And that's where I think Spyderco was introduced to that steel, was through him. So anyways, really good steel. It's going to hold an edge for a really long time. Just make sure you're taking care of it. Now again, this is quite thin blade stock, and with that full flat grind, it's just going to slice really, really well. It really is hard to beat performance-wise a full flat grind, in my opinion. So you do have a couple different methods for opening. You do have the flipper tab here, which has been given just a very rounded shape, I suppose. No real traction to speak of, so you can slip on it, but it does flip well now that I've broken it in. You can light switch it, you can push button it. It's not terrible. It's a smooth knife. Of course, the bearings make it smooth, but without much weight in the blade, it's not really going to feel like a premium flipper. So, but again, this is a performance-oriented knife, and I think the Delica fans out there will appreciate it staying true to, I guess, the Delica roots, just with a more premium configuration and build. So the spider hole works well. It is sharp. I have noticed that on quite a few of their knives recently, just sharp spider holes. So, but it's still, I mean, it's still an excellent method. It's still my favorite method for deployment, aside from a flipper. So, anyways, both methods do work well. You can do the spider flick, thumb flick. You can slowly roll it open, although you do feel more of that sharp edge that way. And then you can also just flip it. So, yeah, just slip there. Now, I was kind of surprised they went with this flipper tab and shape. I mean, they did such a great job with the Rubicon in terms of the angle of the flipper tab, as well as putting a little bit of traction on there. This knife definitely flips better, has more weight on the blade. So as you can see, it's quite a bit smoother. Now keep in mind that this knife is, you can probably pick them up for like $275 new now, but originally it was about double the price of this Mantra here. So, alright, so that's pretty much it for the blade. Again, just it's going to slice really well. It's going to do well in that regard. It's going to do what it's supposed to do. Let's go to the handles now. So stonewashed titanium handles. Nothing too enthralling, pretty basic at this point with what's going on in the market, but edges have been nicely rounded, no hot spots. You do have a cutout to access the flipper tab, or I'm sorry, the frame lock here, so it's not difficult to get to by any means. And then there is a stainless steel lock insert on the Mantra here. Lockup is just about 50%. Hopefully you can see that. And disengagement, really no drama. Not hard to disengage at all. There's really not much in the way of pressure. So, yeah. There's a lanyard hole which has the metal tube. Then you have two stainless steel standoffs here to leave it for kind of an open flow-through design. Now, these stainless steel standoffs, that's actually where the majority of the weight is. I'll try to balance it here on my finger, and it'll roll off. There's a lot of weight in the back here because of these stainless steel standoffs. So balance, fairly poor, but on a knife that weighs 3 ounces, it's really not a huge discussion point, really. I mean, it's just, yeah, a lot of the weight's back here. I mean, if it was a large 5-ounce knife, that might be something to worry about, but something this small and this light, total package weight, not a huge deal. Now, you do have the Spyderco wire clip. If you've had experience with this, you either love it or you hate it. I'm fairly indifferent. It does carry deep. It's a very, very discreet clip because it's just the metal wire. It does make it a little bit harder to get out of the pocket though, because there's really not a good traction point when you've got it carried that deep and there's no traction. So you end up grabbing the clip somewhere to get it. Although when you grab it here, typically you pinch the pocket more. So pulling it in and out of the pocket isn't the easiest thing, but again, if you've had the Spyderco wire clip before, I'm sure you've had experience and it's really not going to be a big deal for you. But it is ambi. You can switch over for left-hand use on the wire clip there, so yeah. Anyways, let's see. Now, as far as a few size comparisons, we've already talked a little bit here about the Spyderco Rubicon. We also have the Guardian Tactical Helix Nano in the same size range here. And then the Line Steel TRE as well. So a couple different options, couple different sizes. This is by far the least expensive of the group, you know, 330, 275 to 300. These ones I believe are 300. And this one is 167.97. And if you guys have looked around for this one, you may have noticed that it's actually sold out multiple times with a couple dealers out there. So again, it's going to be a popular design, but what you may have noticed is that the price is the same no matter where you go, whereas before there might have been a dealer who had it for a couple dollars less expensive, and what you're seeing is the Spyderco minimum advertised price in enforcement, much akin to Benchmade and ZT knives at this point. So, you know, if you're hoping that this one will drop in price as time goes on, as the Spyderco models have done in the past, with the price enforcement in place, I really don't think that's going to happen. So if you're waiting for them to get less expensive, you'll have to keep your eyes on the secondary market and don't count on the dealers to do that for you now. So yeah. All right, so let's move those out of the way. Let's see. So another interesting point is, you know, if you are interested in, let's say, the steel, another consideration would be the Spyderco Gale Bradley 2, which is only about $139, $140, and this one is, you know, $168 thereabouts. So you know, between this and the Gale Bradley or the Gale Bradley 2, I honestly would go with the Gale Bradley or the Gale Bradley 2 if you have large hands. Let's talk about ergonomics for a second. So I do have extra large hands, and this knife isn't terribly comfortable because the ramp here, as you can see, it forces me to push my hand back. Now the jimping is quite nice, quite effective here on this, on the back of the blade here. It creates a thumb ramp, but it does force me down the blade quite a bit, whereas my hand, to get a comfortable position, would actually rather be like this. So you know, extra large hands, probably not the best knife for you. If you have maybe large to medium to small, I think you're really going to find this comfortable. But with my large hands here, it's just not really working for me from an ergonomic standpoint. Maybe a choil would remedy that, but then you're sacrificing some of that cutting edge on a blade that's just over 3 inches long, so I don't know how that would work out either. But and you know, another knife would be the ZT-0450, which is S35VN but titanium frame lock flipper with a stainless steel lock insert. One difference being that if you put pressure on this lock bar, which I'm going to try to show you here, see the discoloration as I push down, still flips without a problem. So you know, if you tend to keep your hands on the lock bar, especially on small knives, which is bound to happen, as you can see with large hands, it doesn't seem to affect the flipping action. So let me see if I can show you thumb here on the flipper tab, or on the lock bar. Yeah, no problem. But yeah, anyways, I think that's about it. Again, if you like the Delica and you've wanted a more premium version of the Delica, I think you found a winner here. If you're expecting a premium flipper that's going to be enjoyable to, you know, flip and play with, I'm not quite sure this is the knife for you, but it's going to be an excellent small EDC, deep carry, edge holding type of knife. So anyways, I like it. I don't love it. I have, you know, quite a few different options here in the same size range that work better for me, but you know, keep those price points in mind here. This is by far the least expensive of the bunch. So anyways, guys, those are my thoughts on the Spyderco Mantra. Now the Mantra 2, that one has a more slender blade. It doesn't have the thumb ramp. So in reality, that one might be a bit more comfortable for my large hands, but it has even less steel on the blade, so it's not going to flip as well either. But anyways, that's about it. Comments or questions, let me know. I know there's going to be some Spyderco fans who are unhappy with my thoughts on this knife. Some of you guys might agree, but they do seem to be plentiful at this point, so try one out. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and I'll see you guys soon.